Good afternoon, gentlemen and lady. I appreciate you being here today. I want to follow up just on one piece of the answer you gave earlier about your recruitment efforts, and you referenced some diversity efforts. Can you give me a very quick answer about where you are in regards to diversity of your workforce at this moment?
Yes. So in terms of our overall department workforce, we're hovering around an 80-20 male-female breakout. We are low on African American males, hovering around 6%, and then maybe another 3-4% on African American females overall. And that seems to hold true to some extent for parole, probation, as well as the institutions. And with that question asked, one of the initiatives that we're undertaking is around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's really two parts. One part is around our labor force. We recognize we have challenges in that space. We talked about recruitment and retention being a major issue for us. But also, as we look at DEI, also looking at it from a standpoint of how we interact with our inmate and reentrant populations. Because unlike other institutions, or other agencies rather, you really can't impact one side because we're a community, right? You can't impact one side of that community without impacting the other side. So our trauma-informed approaches, being more responsive to individuals, creating a healthier work environment for our staff. Gentlemen talked about retention. People oftentimes quit bosses, right? They don't just quit jobs. And I'm sure none of us have had those kind of bosses, although I'm not that kind of boss myself. So, but also it's how we interact with our inmate and reentrant population. So the numbers have not moved a lot, honestly, in the recent years, and we're looking to move the needle as best we can through our recruitment efforts, but we got to retain staff once we get them.
I appreciate that because it's beyond recruitment. It's about that inclusion as well and feeling like you're part of that team. And I also appreciate hearing some of the other efforts you have in regards to the culture and the community at DOC and working with your inmates, because you understand that the policies that you implement in your department impacts disproportionately communities of color. And so I wanted to follow up with another question and series of questions in regards to the impact of those who are incarcerated on their families. Nobody goes to prison alone. Your entire family is impacted by that. And so I had a couple of questions. I know that visits are currently suspended. Prior to COVID, I know that the department had a transportation contract which allowed nonprofits or other entities to apply for that contract to transport families to these facilities that are often 2, 3, even 4 hours away from their home so that they can visit. Was wondering what was your plans, what are your plans to move forward with that contract in the future? That's my one question. And the second question is around communications. I know that we have made some changes during COVID and adjustments to allow for more emails and phone calls and videos, some at no cost to those who are incarcerated. What ways do you plan to continue those programs, and at what support or cost would they be associated with both the transportation and communications?
So we are re-examining the transportation contract. We want to support that sort of effort, but there were questions that came up as to procurement and how we arrived sort of where we did. And so we're getting those ironed out with the Office of General Counsel and Department of General Services and the other players in the procurement space. I guess the long and short of it is, if in fact we're going to be using department funds to pay for it, we have to procure it according to the rules, whatever those may be. So we expect to have answers on that in fairly short order because we know we're coming into the summer season. And then with regard to the communication, we are working towards a comprehensive solution, we hope. We're not quite sure where we're going to land on that one, but what we'd like to do is bundle the tablets, have a greater availability of that so that there are a variety of ways for loved ones inside to communicate with their families on the outside. phone calls. So it's really, I mean, it's the world in which we live. Probably all of us have smartphones. We all communicate through some sort of technology. And so we recognize that we should at least come into the early 21st century with respect to how we deal with that. So you can expect to hear more about how we would do that. Now, can we continue to provide all of these services at the same cost structure that we have been? The answer is probably not. We talked about inflation, so we've got to be cognizant of that and be good stewards. So we're going to have a lot of dialogue with advocacy groups, with the families and the like about where we go with that. But what I can say is we're not looking to make a profit off of the inmates or their families. Fair share of the costs, we'll bear it. Those are important tools for successful reentry and family integrity.
Great. Thank you, Chairman. I know my time is up, but if we have opportunity for a second round, I'd like to come back.